Tom, lots of people have this idea of these beautiful houses in France. They're just going to come and buy a property, but actually there's a lot to think about, particularly if you want to do things to it. And it's better to think about before you buy a property than after you've bought it.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing we find with clients, or the problem points we have when we speak to clients early on, is if they've committed to a property without finding out as much information about that property as perhaps we would want to know to be able to answer their questions. The purchase process in France is quite different to the purchase process internationally, and so understanding that difference and where there might be holes in your knowledge about a property is quite important. And so we try to work hard to fill those holes that our clients might expect to be filled automatically by the folks they're already engaged with. So, for instance, in the UK, it is very, very, very common for there to be a building survey, for you to have a solicitor on your side of the contract to do all of the searches, to find out as much information legally about a property as they can, so that you have a clear picture of that property, both physically in terms of the bricks and mortar, and also legally, that it's got good title. You know, there's no disputes, there's no hidden services running under the garden, for instance. And in France, there isn't that person necessarily doing those things automatically. You would have to go yourself and find someone to do that. Having a building survey in France isn't particularly common, or at least wasn't up until about 18 months ago, 2 years ago. And the role of the notaire is one which is very neutral. It's a very neutral role in the contract. They're making sure that the contract is sound, that it's based on good law, and they're also making sure that the title to the property is good as well and clear, and they're making sure that there's no charges on the property for unpaid taxes, and then they're collecting the taxes that are due. What they're not doing necessarily is finding out about the planning position of the property, what zone it's in, whether there are any planning restrictions that affect the potential development, nor are they looking necessarily for applications which have happened around it. So, for instance, there may have been approval for a solar barn or a solar farm or a wind farm or whatever it is that may affect the enjoyment of someone who's living in the house, which won't come up unless you go yourself as the buyer and find that information out. So we try to work very hard when people approach us and contract with us before they've bought a property, to find out, to fill the holes, to find out as much information as we can about the property, link that with their vision of the future of the property, and find out if there's anything we need to do to enable that vision to come to fruition, or to give them the right information so they can make a decision as to whether the property is right for them or not. Usually it is possible to develop a strategy for getting to the final position. You know, the journey is very rarely a straight line. Often it's very meandering. But if we can make it as straight as we can, especially initially, it makes our life a whole lot easier. The premise of caveat emptor, i.e. buyer beware, exists in France as it does in nearly every property purchase internationally. It's just in France you are very much expected to understand that as a buyer individually, without there being an existing ecosystem of folks who are automatically attached to you in the buying process. So some of our clients from the US are quite surprised that there aren't buyer's agents in France, or there weren't. There's more and more now, but there aren't necessarily easily accessible buyer's agents. There aren't real estate attorneys who are sat there on your side of the contract, making sure the contract is good for you, as well as, you know, and then arguing points on that against the seller. That there aren't home inspectors who automatically go and review the property to make sure it's sound. And so we develop and we have a team who can go out and do all of those things. We have contacts with solicitors who can help, in English-speaking solicitors or notaires who can guide our clients in the legal side of things. But really understanding that the planning position, to make sure that our clients' future aspirations are achievable before they commit to a property, is really important, because, as I said, it makes our life easier. It smooths the road for our clients, and just enables them to know that their dream, their idea of what French life is, can be achieved.
If somebody had a checklist, what would be on that checklist for you? What would you be saying check?
So I would say to check the building. Let's talk about the physical building. If the building is more than 15 years old, then possibly getting a building survey done is a good thing to do. If the building is very, very old, definitely getting a building survey done. And especially if the diagnostics flag up some things that might affect, because you get, when you purchase or are interested in purchasing a property in France, you should get hold of the diagnostic reports. Wad of paper, and they're an official legislated set of reports that a seller has to provide to the buyer, which includes things like the presence of termites or wood-boring insects, the ground conditions, so whether there's a risk of subsidence, whether there's a risk of flooding, the presence of asbestos, the condition of the electrical system, the drainage system, a whole raft of things that you get. What they're not, well, they're like a snapshot of the building at that time. So there might be the reports, for instance, might flag up that there's a risk of subsidence. What the report won't tell you is that if the building has suffered from subsidence, it'll tell you the ground conditions are terrible. The building might be fine. Equally, it might say the ground conditions are okay, and the building might have subsided. So without that other level of information, you could be walking into something which the person who's selling the property will say, well, you had the information. We gave you all the information. If you wanted to find out more about it, that's entirely up to you. And so getting a survey done is quite a useful thing to do. Sometimes it can seem like it's a cost which may result in you deciding to not purchase the property, but essentially it's a fixed cost, which in the grand scheme of the price of the property or the price of the repairs to the property is quite a small thing if it does highlight a major structural defect that will cause you to change your mind. Understanding the planning position of the property is also crucial in my view. So understanding whether it's in a urban zone and can be easily developed, an agricultural zone and restrictions apply, or a natural zones and heavy restrictions apply, whether it's covered by heritage protections. Whilst the building isn't necessarily listed or on the heritage lists, it can still be covered by a heritage protection due to its proximity to a heritage building, be that a church or a chateau or another kind of building that has a protection. And so as soon as that applies, you're into being consulting with the ABF, that kind of thing. If the diagnostic reports flag up that there's a flood risk, understanding whether that flood risk is significant or not, whether it's a river flood risk, a rainfall kind of surface runoff flood risk is important to understand. So there's a whole layer of information which you don't necessarily obtain by just reading through the diagnostics, which I think is important if you're making decisions, especially if it's a building you are looking to develop, whether that be renovation, extension, a conversion, for instance. Understanding the position of the building in terms of regulation, what can be done, material palettes, that kind of thing. The physical structure of the building is important. And then secondary to that, I guess, understanding what's going on in a local area. If the regulations are likely to change, if a PLU is being developed or changed, it is useful to know what's going on with your neighbours. Have they done any works to their buildings? And then, I guess, finally, understanding if works have been done to a property over time, whether the approvals for that property exist, whether the person selling the property can give you evidence of the approval, the signing off of that approval, and so that you're not inheriting a potential planning risk, a potential legal risk in adopting something which has been built but may not have the correct approvals. It's not difficult to find out that information particularly. It can be a relatively easy process. It's just something I think people need to work through so that they have a full picture of a building. Because if you're going to spend a significant amount of money on something, you really want to go into it with your eyes fully open, so you can make the right decisions at the right time, and to know that there is a strategy for mitigating any risk and any problems which presented, etc., that present in that process.
Talking about buying, say, a property that's got either an existing business or an existing business opportunity,
Yep.
again, just because it has a gîte or it has glamping or whatever on the property, doesn't actually mean you'll be able to do the same when you buy it.
No, absolutely. And the glamping camping thing is quite a hot topic at the moment. It's a very popular thing for people to think, oh great, I'll go over and I'll run a campsite. Campsites need planning permission, and getting permission for a campsite these days is quite tricky, purely because more and more communes are restricting the land which can be used for glamping and camping sites, especially in very touristy areas where you might want to put one. There's quite a saturation of glamping or camping and businesses, and so there's a bit of a crackdown. So if you are looking at camping and glamping sites, it's often better to try to purchase one which is existing, has the right approvals, is regulatorily correct in terms of its provision for accessibility, fire protection, all of those things, all the things that are legislatively important but quite boring, need to be right. And so if you're in the meeting with the agent and the seller, understanding and to know the right questions to ask, and to know, I watched a video once where someone said I should ask about what the accessibility are, whether it's ERP compliant, is quite key. But also, if you have, say, an aspiration to run a retreat, wellness retreat, yoga retreat, cookery retreat, whatever kind of it is, and you find a building which ticks all the boxes on paper, understanding whether that can be converted to such a usage, because it changes from residential to more commercial, is important to know before you push the button on it. But also understanding if there's major works you need to do to the building to make it compliant. Can someone in a wheelchair access the building? Because if you are running a business that is open to the public, it has to be wheelchair accessible. There has to be provision for someone who is less able to be able to use the building as you would need to use it. And it also got to be, the fire protection and fire security strategies have to be in place before you can have anyone from the public in. And that adds cost. And if you haven't planned for that cost in your budgeting, suddenly it can put a dampener on that process. Our clients who get frustrated are often the ones who haven't done the right planning initially, or who have come to us slightly late, and we have to say, you do need to do all this stuff. It's not a nice to have, it's an absolute. And so if you are looking at buying a building to run a business in, understanding what the legislation says your business has to comply with is important, and making sure that then fits with the building you're looking to purchase is also really key.
In the pre-planning, there's so many times that somebody can ask a question, but when should people start to ask questions? Should they ask it when they're looking round? Should they ask the agent? When should they ask?
I would be asking as soon as you can. As soon as you think you're going to commit to a property, or it's high on your list, so maybe you're looking at 2 or 3. At the point where you get down to a list of maybe 2 or 3, you start asking the same questions about all of those properties. The information should be relatively available. The agent should be able to, if they don't have the information, able to allow you to find out that information. Sometimes a carefully asked question at the right time can give you a real indication as whether there's anything being not hidden, but perhaps not divulged. Perhaps they're trying to push the sale along so that the sale gets done quickly. But asking those questions as early as you can, because agents can be really helpful if they know all the information. Because if you've gone through a whole process and you're on the 3rd viewing of the house, and you suddenly say to them, oh, by the way, we want to convert this, or we want to use this for this use, suddenly they're on the back foot because they didn't know that was the case early on. And that's where kind of we can help. If someone comes to us early on and goes, I'm looking at this property, can you help us manage the pre-purchase due diligence? We go, absolutely we can. And we become their advocate for asking the right questions, finding the right answers, pushing as many people as we can to get that information as quickly as we can. because we know how to speak to the local mayories, we know how to speak to local planning departments, we know what questions to ask to get the right answers and the right places to look, and it can just speed that process up. And it sometimes helps if there's someone slightly detached emotionally from the process, because we can look at things with clear eyes to go, look, here's the facts, here's all the information. Let's have a conversation about whether we think this building works for you. If you think it still does by the time we've had that conversation, perfect. Off we go. We can help you in however way you want us to going forwards. But at least we know we've done our utmost to make sure that purchase is sound going forward.
Talk to us about the costs involved.
So I think in terms of when we talk about pre-purchase due diligence and pre-purchase work, we're looking at making sure that a client's budget matches their aspiration. Because quite often folks enjoy watching lots of TV programs, and it can appear on TV whether that works in France, the French buildings don't cost a lot, when in fact that's pretty much the opposite. It can cost quite a lot, if not slightly more than works, for instance, in the UK. And so making sure that people are aware of the potential costs of the barn conversion over and above the sales cost, and also making them aware of the different taxes that they have to pay that are associated with development, because there are different taxes to pay. There's a planning tax, for instance, to pay when you get approval for a building, but there's also the effects that development of the building has on the property taxes themselves. Making sure we give them a clear idea that that their budget is sensibly fitting with what their aspirations for the building is, so that we don't get 2 years down the line in the project and suddenly they're running out of cash, and because that's hugely frustrating for everyone. Whereas if we'd had that early conversation to say to them, we don't think this budget balances necessarily with the aspirations and the building, because there's the costs of the building itself, there's the costs of perhaps repairing or maintaining the building to the point where it's back to zero, and then there's the costs of actually developing it, and that's where all these things kind of feed in. Getting a survey for a building lets you understand what sunk costs you might have in repairing the roof, for instance, just getting the building watertight, before you've even started putting in the new kitchen or working through the extension or converting the attached barn. And all these little intricacies all weave into one another and give you a full picture of whether that potential project is feasible or not. Because living in France is great. You don't want it to be soured by the fact that something has come up as a surprise. Surprises always cost money when it comes to development, and it's if we can limit the number of surprises, all's the better.